Hello, everyone, and welcome to another YouTube podcast episode of Andy's Witchcraft by me and Tarot by Andy. I hope you're all having a wonderful day so far and blessed Beltane. I'm recording this the day of Beltane. This won't be released until the Friday, but I hope you all had a wonderful Beltane Sabbath and welcomed the summer with open arms and found some time for yourself to be in nature and contemplate on your path. Today's video is going to it's going to be the first video that I actually touch on Buddhism. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about the Buddhist Eightfold Path, how it connects to Christianity, as well as how it connects to witchcraft. So how you can be a ChristoPagan and a Buddhist, going into more detail than the post I made on my Instagram page. So the Eightfold Path is a Buddhist guide to end suffering within an individual. This is the path that one must take in order to reach enlightenment, which is finally when someone is relieved of all suffering, aka dukkha. And the 8 practices in this path do not have to be practiced in any given order. Rather, they are practiced simultaneously. So as you learn one, the others kind of come to you naturally. The 8 practices are right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right meditation. We will be going into detail on each one of these, and then I will have some Bible verses that support these beliefs in Christianity and show that they are basically saying the same thing. Basically showing that you can be a Christian and a Buddhist. Buddhism is not a religion, contrary to belief. It is more of like a philosophy, a spirituality. Therefore, it can be combined with any religion. You could be a Buddhist Muslim, you could be a Buddhist Christian, you could be a Buddhist ChristoPagan, you could be a Buddhist pagan, even though paganism is not even a religion either. It's, again, more of a spirituality, philosophy, life kind of thing. So basically anything that can be combined in various different ways. But the point of this video, we will be talking about how it overlaps with Christianity. So I will have Bible verses to back them up and discuss how these Bible verses connect to it. So the first one is right view. In this practice, the individual has to see all sides of the story and they have to omit nothing. You basically have to be an impartial observer. So we have to acknowledge that there is no beholder of the right view. When two people are in an argument, neither of them are necessarily right or wrong. They are both right in their own ways. They both have valid points and their feelings are valid. And it's important to see that and not just look for the sides that you relate to most, because just because you can't relate to it doesn't mean it's not valid, doesn't mean that it's not right. So honestly, this is the name right view is kind of contradictory because there is no one right view. That's the point of the right view, is to acknowledge that there is no one right view. So that's often why Buddhism is so confusing to learn at first, because it's like, oh, you're using the word right, but you're telling me there is no right. Well, that's exactly the point. The right view acknowledges that there are 5 aggregates acknowledged in kind of like the universe, and they indicate that everything in this world is connected. So the first one is form or matter. This is what we see, hear, touch, taste, smell. So our 5 senses. From these 5 senses, feeling will arise from these forms. So we have feeling next. Once you start to feel something, you experience conception. You label the experience. Typically, individuals label them as good or bad or uncomfortable. But that may not always be the case. Based on this labeling of good or bad, you draw conclusions based on the feeling, which is called mental formation and volition, which if you study cognitive psychology, this is what's referred to as building your mental schemas. So you're building these schemas. Is this something that I want to avoid in the future? Is it something that I want to happen again? What are the conclusions you're drawing? What are the consequences of it? And finally, you experience consciousness. So when the experience happens again, you will be aware, oh, it's happening again. So you experience this awareness, and the cycle continues. Where are you experiencing the form, the matter, the feeling, conception, mental formation and volition, and then consciousness. So it's kind of like the cycle of life until you choose to break that cycle by either having your feelings change, your conceptions change, and so on and so forth. So based on this, you can see how we are connected to the world. So experience is not personal. It's not just you. It is based on worldly variables. Your conceptions are affecting the world. So, what are the Bible verses that support that there is no one right view and that we are all kind of like equal and correct in our own ways? Matthew chapter 23, verses 8 to 12 says, "But you are not to be called rabbi, for you have one teacher, and you are all brothers. And do not call anyone on earth father, for you have one Father, and he is in heaven. Nor are you to be called instructors, for you have one instructor, the Messiah. The greatest among you will be your servant. For those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted." So what this means is that we are equal. So if you look at that, the greatest among you will be your servant. For those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. By humbling yourself, you're acknowledging that you are not the one right way. You are not the one right person. You're not the God of the universe. You're not the king or queen of the world. You are just a human, just like everyone else. And you have experiences that are equal to everyone else. So that's how I interpret this verse, and that's how I overlap it with the right view, because it's saying you are all equal, you are all human. None of you has more valid knowledge than the other, and that's exactly what God is saying in this verse, to me at least. The next verse is Acts chapter 10, verses 34 to 35. "Then Peter began to speak. I now realize how true it is that God does not show favoritism, but accepts from every nation the one who fears him and does what is right." Now, this translation I'm not the biggest fan of, because I don't like the word fear. Rather than fear, I like to think of fear as more accurately translated as adore or glorify him, which other translations do, but I just kind of went with the first translation I saw. But the point of this is God does not show favoritism. That's like the key thing there. And that's to show that God is an impartial person. He acknowledges there is no one right view. We are all equal in his eyes. The final one is Leviticus chapter 19, verse 15. "Do not pervert justice. Do not show partiality to the poor or favoritism to the great, but judge your neighbor fairly." Again, acknowledging equality. We have to be impartial. We can't be partial to favor the great, the great and the rich, and then discriminate the poor. We can't do that. It's not right. So that's what that verse is telling us, and that's how, again, right view. There is no one right view. We have to be impartial, see everyone's sides, and judge them fairly is the key word there. The next practice in the Eightfold Path is the right intention. So it is up to us to break the chain of suffering and confusion that our ancestors have built up. We have to enjoy every moment without thinking of what you are gaining. So the intention can't be to gain something. It can't be to want to be rich and powerful. The intention should always be to benefit the world and humanity and do what is benefit to the greater good, not just to you. And in fact, according to Buddhism, the right intention is to have no intention at all. Don't think at all about how this is affecting you. Rather, think about how others are going to be treated, and just do it. If you see someone being mistreated, typically your automatic reaction is to defend them. And that's honestly, you don't think in that moment what your intention is. You just see, oh, someone is being mistreated, I'm going to defend them. and be that impulsive thing. We have to be careful, of course, not to make impulsively rash decisions like that will lead to harm, like stabbing someone over insulting your friend. That's not always great. But typically, again, the right intention, don't think about yourself at all. Don't have intention at all. The right intention is divided into 3 parts. The first is letting go. Do not rely on any worldly goods, cravings, or desires, so material stuff. The second one is goodwill. Wish others well and liberate ourselves from ill will. And the third one is harmlessness. Do not harm. Contemplate on how your actions are impacting everyone. I have 3 Bible verses for each of these. So a total 9 Bible verses to help with this section and give you a good idea. So for the first right intention, letting go, the first Bible verse is Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. Keep your life free from love of money and be content with what you have. For he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. The second one, Matthew chapter 6, verse 24 says, no one can serve 2 masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. And finally, we have Luke chapter 12, verse 33 to 34. Sell your possessions and give to the needy. Provide yourselves with money bags that do not grow old, with a treasure in the heavens that does not fail, where no thief approaches and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. All of these discuss material things. They talk about money, but the last one does talk about possessions, material possessions, the goods, the cravings, the desires. And all of these, say to let go of that. We do not need that. Of course, we're not saying go sell your house and live on the streets for God and for Buddha. No, obviously not. Don't do that. Care about your health, but do be thankful if you have enough to get by. You don't need to have an abundant savings account. You don't need to have you don't need to have a mansion. You don't need to have the richest car. Just get the car that will take you from point A to point B. Let go of wanting that richy lifestyle. I know there's a word for it, but I can't remember the correct word. But richy lifestyle is what I'm going with. Let go of that desire, because as long as you have enough to survive and get by, that's all that matters. For the right intention, goodwill, the first verse is James chapter 2, verse 8. If you really keep the royal law found in Scripture, love your neighbor as yourself, you are doing right. Matthew chapter 5, verses 43 to 45. You have heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of the Father in heaven. And Proverbs chapter 14, verse 30. A heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones. These are all about having goodwill, wishing good on others, even those that you do not get along with 100%. I know I try my best to do that. And I especially love the Proverbs verse saying envy rots the bones. Just that metaphor, something about it, it makes me want to avoid envy. It's great. It's doing its job. But all of these are just about good, loving others. That's the number one rule God gave, is to wish others well. Finally, Bible verses supporting right intention of harmlessness. Romans chapter 13, verse 10. Love does no harm to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 13. Who is going to harm you if you are eager to do good? And Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Again, all of these, the word is no harm, or like no one is going to harm you if you're gonna do good. Like, who would want to hurt a good person? Um, and God has plans not to harm you and to make you prosper. I actually have a necklace with that Jeremiah verse, and I love it so much. It really brings me comfort in the darkest moments. But the point is that there are Bible verses to support all three aspects of right intention, which is to have no intention, and the only thing you focus on is the benefit of others. And one thing I want to note is that Buddha is not saying let others step on you all the time. Well, honestly, he kind of is, but he is saying if you want to leave the person who is harming you, you can. It's just in the moment you are facing the person, don't do anything to harm them. And yourself too. Like when my dad tells me to do something and I get annoyed and angry, I hear Buddha's voice in my head saying, just do what he says, let it go, meditate. I understand this upsets you, but anger and stress are only harming you. They're not doing anything to harm him. And he's really trying to look out for me in that way. So he's not saying really, let people step on you. It's okay. Let them get away with it. No. You can educate them calmly. You could say, hey, this hurts me. It's just if they choose not to listen, Buddha is really trying to teach you on how to not harm yourself in the process. Harming yourself with negative emotions that will lead you to feeling depressed and anxious and just not feeling good. Buddha in the end is trying to help you feel good about yourself. So the third path is the right speech. In simple terms, the basics would be like no gossiping, no spreading rumors, no keeping secrets or deception. These are known as divisive speech. The reason that Buddha is against these things is because it divides people. It splits people in two, and he rather wants us to be one connected nation, not separate. Because as he says, we are connected to others, we are connected to the universe, we are connected to the world. And divisive speech is not going to make us any more connected. Buddha also wants us to spread only the truth and reality. Again, omit nothing. Give the big picture. In this one, in the right speech, it's important to know that Buddhism is a guideline. It's not a strict set of rules to be followed. Like I said earlier, there are certain situations where it may hurt others if you leave them, but you're leaving them like the day I move out of my house, it's going to hurt my parents, honestly. The day I finally come out as a witch, it's going to hurt them. But it's going to benefit my path, which I will use to help others. This path, being a ChristoPagan Buddhist, helps me help others. I'm helping others on their path. I'm teaching others that you could be your own person and follow your own way. So by harming one person, I'm doing something for me. Buddha is not saying always to be 100% selfless. It's okay to be selfish and follow your own path. For monks who live in the monastery and who spend their life there, going days without talking to their parents because they are doing mindful, quiet meditation without contact with the outside world, that will obviously hurt your parents, but it's something that will benefit your soul, your spirit, and then in turn the spirits of others. So again, this is why Buddhism is not a guide. It is not Buddhism is a guideline, and it's not a set of rules that you have to follow 100% to the T. We have to be flexible, and again, we have to see all sides of the story. That's what the right speech says. So base your opinions on what you see, not what you hear. If you're going to talk about your opinions, make it fact-based, make it empirical sort of thing in the sense that you see it, it's there in front of you, and you're not just guessing. The right speech also requires right listening. So you have to listen to the facts and choose to relay those facts. Things that you can consider if it's the right speech. So you can consider, is what I'm going to say useful, harmful, something I would want to hear. These are just 3 things that you can think of quickly before you say something. And then if it's useful, if it's not harmful, and if it's something you would want to hear, then you could say it. In this day and age, the right speech does not only refer to spoken speech, but also what you say on social media, what you post about. You hear all your parents saying, watch what you post on social media. Your jobs may stalk your social media page to make sure that you will be a good fit, an image for them. So do not speak in any way that makes anyone on earth appear greater or smaller than you. We are all human and deserves to be treated as such. Like the previous verses about being equal in the eyes of God, we are all equal on earth. So Bible verses to support this. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear. Oh, shoot. I had to stop the recording quickly because I forgot to note down the chapter and the verse. I just wrote Philippians and I was like, that's not helpful. But I found it. Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. And Matthew chapter 23, verses 8 to 12. But do not call me Rabbi, for one is your teacher, and you are all brothers. Do not call anyone on earth your father, for one is your Father, he who is in heaven. Do not be called leaders, for one is your leader, that is Christ. But the greatest among you shall be your servant. Whoever exalts himself shall be humbled, and whoever humbles himself shall be exalted. So you notice that I did the same one as the one that I did for the right view. And because you may have noticed when I was talking, right view and right speech do overlap. So all of these verses are about considering what is good. Again, considering, is what you're saying useful, harmful, something you would want to hear. All of these are about considering that. And all of these are about being equal. So don't speaking in a way that makes anyone on earth appear greater than you. He's literally saying, do not be called rabbi. Don't refer to anyone with labels that make them greater than you. You are equal in the eyes of God. So that's what I really loved. This was honestly my favorite one to look up because I was like, yes, I love being equal. It just helps with your self-esteem. You always compare yourselves to others. You're always like, this person is doing this and this person is greater than me, this person's more talented than me. But when you're looking up verses and when you're researching the Buddhist path, you're like, they may have different gifts than I, but that doesn't make them more worthy than me or more valid. Because we are all here for a reason, and we are all human, and that's honestly it. The next one is right action. The right action is to go with the flow. Don't force it. You have to be unwilled and natural. You have to see what your actions do, not only to yourself, but to others and to the universe. So morality is dictated by seeing the consequences of your action. Perform selfless actions. What benefits others also benefits ourselves. And there are 3 physical categories to the right action. Refrain from taking life or causing others to take life, which may not only include humans, but also animals. Refrain from stealing, so fraud, physical stealing like from stores, so on and so forth. And refrain from sexual misconduct. I won't go into detail of examples so as to not trigger anyone, but you could think of probably a few examples of refraining from sexual misconduct. The 10 unwholesome ways to act. Taking life, taking what is not freely given, inappropriate sexual misconduct, lying, divisive speech, harsh words, idle talk, coveting another's possessions. Does that word sound familiar to you? If you know the 10 Commandments, it does. resenting the good fortune of others, so being jealous, closed-mindedness of what we don't understand, aka what the evangelicals do to us. Ironic. This one, I only have 2 Bible verses because the first one is very long. The first one is actually going to be when God gave Moses the 10 commandments. So Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 to 17. And God spoke all these words. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or on earth beneath, or in waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the 3rd and 4th generations of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath up to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but he rested on the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Honor your father and mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male or female servant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. These verses may be triggering, and I apologize if it is. I interpret them in a very, very, very different way than evangelicals and the Catholic Church does. I may do an episode deconstructing this because it is it's 17 verses long. So I feel like that would be a good lengthy episode to deconstruct. So I may add that to the list of episodes to do. But for now, just take my advice, take anything with a grain of salt. Just because God used to be jealous in the Old Testament doesn't mean he still is. People learn and grow, and I think gods do too. So to consider that. Also, I do not think he punishes children for what their parents. It's more so like he doesn't do the punishing, because our ancestors have released so much negative karma, and this is what Buddhism believes. So I'm gonna talk about this actually, because this will overlap. So he says that he punishes children for the sin of parents, but in Buddhism, we believe that our ancestors and our parents released so much negative karma that when they pass away, we believe in reincarnation if they did not reach enlightenment. But the point is, when they pass away, and we're the ones left behind until they can be reincarnated into people to be able to balance out the negative karma, it's kind of up to us to balance out the negative karma with good karma, with positive karma. It's up to us to be positive enough to release enough good energy in the universe to balance out the bad energy our ancestors gave out. And that's kind of like what I think this verse is saying. So he's not punishing the children for the sin of the parents. It's more like the universe has so much negative karma that it is affecting us, and it's up to us to give out this positive energy. That's how I interpret it. But the point is, the commandments, the 10 commandments, are right action examples. And they are examples that are kind of universal, you know. You don't want people to steal from you. You don't want to commit adultery. Adultery is in the sense of cheating on people, which causes harm. You know, if you feel the need to cheat on someone, just break up with them, you know. Like, don't cheat on them, please. And then, yeah, all of these things. Honor your father and your mother. I feel like again, it's more than what's at face value. Don't take it with a grain of salt. Do your research, interpret it how you want, and that's all you can do. And then the second verse, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 3-5. God's will is for you to be set apart for him in holiness, and that you keep yourselves unpolluted from sexual defilement. Yes, each of you must guard your sexual purity with holiness and dignity, not yielding to lustful passions like those who don't know God. Now, I'm going to note this. The reason I put this verse, even though this is the kind of verse that encourages purity culture, which I am definitely 120% against, to me, personally, sexual defilement is acting based on lust. So using or manipulating others for pleasures, manipulating others into engaging in sexual actions. Guarding sexual purity does not mean you have to remain a virgin. No. That's not what I think. I interpret it as, do not let anyone use you for your body. You are not an object. You are not an object. I want you to repeat this 20 times. If you feel like someone is treating you like you are an object, I reflect on whether that person is making you feel good and make decisions on what to do about your relationship afterwards. I'm not going to tell anyone what to do, but reflect on whether it is truly beneficial if you can be your greatest person around this person. But don't let yourself be treated as an object. Maintain quote unquote purity is in the sense that we are humans and we need to be treated with dignity and respect. We are not sex toys. We are not sex objects. We are not. We are human beings. So, that's how I interpret that verse. Interpret it however you will if you do not agree with me 100%, but that's how I agree, and yes. The fifth path on this is right livelihood. Earn your living in a manner that does not bring harm to others or to yourself. However, this also depends on the situation. So I'm going to give an example. So the Buddhist path says that in general, again, it depends on the situation and your intent, but in general, there are 5 professions that are of wrong livelihood. Dealing in weapons, if they are used to harm others in a way that is not noble. So for example, if you are joining the army to protect your country, to defend the lives of others, that just because you're in the army does not mean you cannot reach enlightenment, is what he's saying. You could still achieve enlightenment if you are in the army or if you're in the Navy, like dealing in weapons. The point is, if you're doing it to protect others or protect your rights, your human rights, that's different. The second one is dealing in humans. So for example, the resource I got this from, I think I got this from from a couple podcast episodes which overlapped. A few podcast episodes said, for example, fortune telling. But, don't worry. We witches are safe because it's only if it is deceitful. If you are lying, if you are using others and like pretending to be a true fortune teller, if you know you don't have gifts of fortune telling, do not do it. That's why in my tarot reading business, I don't typically do readings with spirits that I'm not familiar with. So I do not do readings with passed away loved ones, with ancestors, because that is not what I have trained myself to do. I hope to eventually train and practice to be able to do that. But for now, that is not in my repertoire because I feel like it would be deceitful. I am not trained to be able to connect to every ancestor and spirit and pass on loved one in the universe. So I do not do that. I could do general readings, but not that. Or like also shadow work and inner child, but nothing directed towards like a specific loved one. As of now. Dealing in meat production, if you are the one actively killing the animals. Now, there have been not contradictory, but like I've researched intently because I feel bad because I am a meat eater. I do eat meat. I try to go vegetarian. I go vegetarian for Lent and I lose weight like crazy, and it kills my health essentially. Even if I make healthy meals that fill me up, it nothing works for me. So I've researched intensely on whether you can be a Buddhist and eat meat, and you can. The point is your intent. So if you limit your meat consumption, so I typically don't, I like to do at least one day a week where I don't eat meat. I limit that meat consumption. So there's that. So if you limit it, you're good. If you're not the one actively killing animals, you're good. Basically, the less meat you eat, the better. Because the thing is, when you're eating meat, when you're buying meat from the stores, it's in, all the people that buy meat from the stores, that's why the stores order more meat. That's why more animals are killed and butchered. And that's why they die in horrifying ways. If you guys know any places that sell meat that from animals that are humanely killed, do let me know. I will do that because I am completely against torturing and suffering of animals. I am against that. That's not what I'm for. That's why I limit it as much as I can. But yes, you can be a Buddhist and still eat meat. Do not feel guilty for it. Actually, one website that I watched equated it to even if you're vegetarian and you're buying plants, the way plants are made these days, with all the pesticides, with all of the herbicides, the chemicals that kill thousands of tiny insects and bugs, and even butterflies die from that when they pollinate on flowers, and the flowers are with pesticides and herbicides and all that. They equated it to that. What's the difference between tons of animals dying and tons of insects and bugs and animals that eat from the farms and stuff like that, and they're ingesting those chemicals? What's the difference between those two? So these days, it's a lot iffy, the concept of being a vegetarian Buddhist, because no matter what, there are thousands of creatures, Mother Nature's creatures, being harmed by what humans are doing. So I will leave it at that now. The next one is dealing in intoxicants, so things that alter consciousness and affect your ability to think. So I'll leave it at that. Again, remember, Buddhism is a set of guidelines. There are exceptions anywhere. Medicinal marijuana that relieves your pain, that is fine. Even if the marijuana is not medicinal, using marijuana medicinally, not to purposefully get high and be loopy and not be able to clearly think, especially if you plan to drive, not doing that, that's fine, that's fine. You're good. And dealing in poisons, anything used to kill or harm others or used to alter consciousness, etc. So now I'm going to 3 Bible verses that overlap and support the belief in the right livelihood. Psalm 90, verse 17. May the favor of the Lord our God rest on us. Establish the work of our hands for us. Yes, establish the work of our hands. Colossians, is that how you pronounce it? Colossians, yeah. Chapter 3, verses 23 to 24. Whatever you do, work heartily, as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. And Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. All of these, honestly, this was the hardest one to find verses to support. But all of these show that any work you do, anything you do with your hands, has to be for, it says the favor of Lord our God, which I believe anything that's in favor to God means that it's something that's favorable to humans on earth, because God only wants the best for his creation, for his children. He only wants the best. So whatever you do, work good for the sake of others and for the Lord. Do things that are noble and good works, and that's all you can do. The next one is right effort. The right effort means that there is no straining, forcing, or pushing. This is conjoined with number 1, the right view. So it is being here in this moment. See what you can and cannot control in this moment. The future is unknown and we can't control it, and that is okay. Control what you can in this moment. I repeat in this moment several times because we spend so much of our effort relentlessly trying to change the future, and it just does not work out because you can't change. We don't know what the future holds. It's impossible to change the future to be exactly how we want it. So don't, spend your effort on something you can change, something you can control. Recognize what it is that it is bothering you and let it go naturally. We want to strive to have a non-obsessed mind. So we don't want to overthink. We don't want to have multiple, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do this and this is today. And if I don't do this, then my whole schedule is ruined. Just take it a step at a time, one thing at a time. An example of trying to have a non-obsessed mind as well. My parents are unbearable. Okay, that's okay. Your parents are unbearable. You can't control your parents' actions or what they say or think or do. So just acknowledge this is how you feel. That's okay. And let it go. There are different meditation and mindfulness tactics you can to try to let it go. Look some up and maybe you'll find something that works. So the 3 verses that support the right effort. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verses 1-8. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them up, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. And then Jeremiah, again, chapter 29, verse 11, because I love this verse. I'm going to be saying it again. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. And then 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 7-9. No, we declare God's wisdom, a mystery that has been hidden, and that God destined for our glory before time began. None of the rulers of this age understood it, for if they had, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. However, as it is written, what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, what no human mind has conceived, the things God has prepared for those who love him. These verses are all about recognizing that there is a time for certain things and a time for others. So there is a time where you worry about work. That is at work. And there is a time where you can stop worrying about work and do other things, which is when you go home. You don't need to worry about work at home. Do not. Spend some time with your kids or your pets or your friends or your family. There is a time for stress and worry, and there is a time for enjoyment. And that is the right effort. Using the effort of worrying and stress at the right moments. There's a theory in psychology. It's called the Yerkes-Dodson's, it's like a graph, Yerkes-Dodson's graph. And it basically says there is an optimal level of anxiety, a level of anxiety in the middle, so mid-anxiety, so moderate levels of anxiety that will optimize, so maximize your performance. So there is a time to stress about work. And that is when you want that moderate level of anxiety to perform really good at work. If you do not need to perform well, if it's just a time to relax, minimize that anxiety. Just minimize it. Right effort at the right time. Again, easier said than done. I know. I have GAD. I know. But this is something that I keep in mind for the sake of, being a Buddhist and stuff. It's something that I'm reflecting and working on, and it benefits me. And then for First Corinthians, that one might be a little confusing. You have to really read into it, I think. But basically it means God is preparing something in the future. He has something planned, and it will never be to harm you. It won't be to harm you. Nothing God has planned in the future will harm you. So don't strain yourself too much about the future. Have faith in God as if you're a ChristoPagan. And if you're not a ChristoPagan, have faith in your gods that they will protect you in the future. And that you do not need to stress about anything right now about your future, because your gods have your back. Your spirit guides have your back. Do not worry. 7 is the right mindfulness. The right mindfulness brings us back to reality. And there are 4 things that we have to be mindful of. The first is your body. How does your body move? What does it do? How does it feel? And what actions did your body do? And good and bad. Whatever you did that was deemed not productive, something that didn't benefit you, rehearse it in your mind what you could have done to be more mindful. What could you have done to make a better decision in that moment? And think about that. And that is mindfulness. Feelings. Attend to your feelings without judgment. Do a full body scan about your feelings, your emotions, and think about why you are feeling this way, what caused you to feel this way, and what you can do to improve your emotions if they are negative. Mindfulness of the mind. What are you thinking? What are you desiring? Are you angry, ignorant, distracted? A free mind recognizes that we should not fixate on one religious or spiritual ideal. So if you feel like your mind is being stubborn and saying, no, my way is the right way, my way or the highway, work on your mindfulness to be able to adjust this so that you recognize that everything is right and everyone has their own valid path. And that's all you have to know. And then finally, mindfulness of dukkha, the mental states. So you're suffering. How does your suffering appear? Is it when you have a lack of interest? Is it when you're restless? Is it desire, laziness, ill will? Why does dukkha appear for you, and how can you make it cease? And the number 1 rule is to never, never, never chastise yourself. Do not hate on yourself for feeling a certain way, for thinking a certain way, for saying, I wasn't mindful. I'm so stupid. How could I not be mindful in that moment? No chastising yourself. You are doing your best, and your best is enough. All you have to do is recognize, okay, I wasn't mindful. That's okay. I can't undo my decision, but I can change for the better. I can change it for next time, and I'll let go of that moment. So 3 Bible verses to support the right mindfulness. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 11. Fools give full vent to their rage, but the wise bring calm in the end. Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve of what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. And 1 Peter 4, verse 7. The end of all things is near. Therefore, be alert and of sober mind so that you may pray. So this last verse, honestly, to me is interesting because many Buddhists do abstain from drinking wine, and I have recently made a vow to abstain from alcohol for essentially the rest of my life. And yesterday, everyone was drinking around me, and it wasn't hard for me to say no, but I was just getting very annoyed because my parents were like, have one. No means no. Stop asking me. But anyways, so many Buddhists actually abstain from drinking wine because they believe that being drunk will cloud their mind and their judgment, and it will make it more difficult for them to meditate and be mindful. So honestly, these verses, a lot of them, not conforming to the pattern of this world. So these days, everybody is is smoking or drinking or, doing all these activities. And sometimes it can be hard to say no, even if you know the decision is the best for you. But all you have to do is just practice the right mindfulness. Be mindful of what's best for you. Don't conform to what anyone else does. Don't conform to anything in this world does. Just do what's best for you. Do not give in. If you don't want to give in, do not give in. Be mindful. And if you want to be sober so that you could pray and meditate. And then obviously for the first one, don't give in to your anger and rage at the world. And, right mindfulness is to be calm. The wise bring calm in the end. Be calm and mindful. Finally, we have right meditation. So stay with your immediate experience, moment by moment. Be with your breathing, your mind, and your body. Give yourself permission to have thoughts. So if you're meditating and suddenly a thought pops in, it's okay. Let it go. A meditation technique that helps me let it go is to picture yourself putting your thoughts on a leaf and watch the leaf float away in a river. So the leaf is floating on a river. Just place your thoughts on that leaf and let it float away. And that's all you can do. Meditation is quote unquote supposed to be quote unquote useless. It should be done for no particular purpose. So don't say, I'm going to meditate because maybe I can make a decision on what to do as a career or something like that. No, that's not how it works. Meditation is not going to make you make decisions easier. It's not going to make you be able to avoid arguments, because once the meditation's over, sometimes you jump back into argument. No, don't do it for any reason. Don't say because. Just say, I'm going to meditate. That's it. You don't need a because. We don't need it. So Bible verses for that are Psalm chapter 119, verses 15 to 16. I will meditate on your precepts and regard your ways. I shall delight in your statutes. I shall not forget your word. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Him being God. And if you're not ChristoPagan, your gods, your spirit guides, whoever you work with. Matthew chapter 6, verse 6. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. So I love that last verse because it emphasizes the last point, done for no particular purpose. Nobody needs to know you do meditation. Nobody needs to know it. Do it in private and make it your practice. Meditation to me, if I post that I'm meditating, it'll be just to keep me, what's the word? It would be to make sure that I continue it so that I can look back on it and I'll be like, okay, I should meditate now. Because sometimes I say, oh, I'm going to meditate, and then I don't. Because it's useless, right? There's no particular reason. And if I don't have a reason to do something, I usually don't do it. But I'll look back on posts about my meditation experience and I'll be like, oh yeah, I should meditate. I should. And then, yeah, that helps. Accountable. That's the word. To hold me accountable. But there's no reason for you to post if you don't want to post about it. So you don't have to post about it. Do it in your private. And that's it. And if I post that I'm meditating, I never post what I'm meditating about or which guide I'm meditating with or who I'm connecting with. No, that's private. That's my private practice. But yeah, so all that matters is that your guides know you're meditating. No one else needs to know. Cast your anxieties on your guides, meditate on their precepts, and that's it. So I'm talking about all this. I'm overlapping the Christian and the Buddhist Eightfold Path, but what about witchcraft? And this is an easy one, honestly, because so much of Buddhism is what witchcraft is based on. Pagan principles also state to do no harm to others. If any witches that I know do hexes, they say, that's that like it's more like of a justice reason. It's a reason for, it's magic to bring justice and make them kind of like pay for what they did, kind of thing. But other than that, they don't do harm to others. They never do like negative, pessimistic witchcraft. Another witchcraft belief: we believe what we release into the universe, we will get in return, good or bad. And some witches don't believe in the threefold. I think it's called the threefold rule, and then others do. But even if you don't believe in the threefold rule, I do believe that the majority of witches do believe that if they're good to someone, good will come to them, and if they're bad to someone, bad will come to them. And bad will be like hexing someone for no reason, like you just see someone post something online that you disagree with and you hex them or something like that. That's what I mean by bad. Not that this person physically beat me up and I'm hexing them. No, like that's different. That's like self-defense, if anything. But if you're like hexing people left and right for no valid reason, well, the universe will return that to you some way, somehow, no matter how much protection magic you do, especially if you do it repetitively. For me, I keep in mind the Eightfold Path in every spell I cast. So when I cast a spell, I think, what is the purpose of the spell? Will it release positive karma into the universe to balance out the negative karma of my ancestors? Will it cause any harm? And will it benefit mankind or like my friends around me, my family, stuff like that? Because of Buddhist principles, my personal is the key word. I'm not shaming anyone. This is my personal rule, is that I do not hex or cast painful magic. It's not to shame anyone who does. I just, because I know, like I gave examples, if someone beats you up, hex them if you feel the need to defend yourself. If that's what you need to feel safe again, do it. If someone is hexing you, hex them back in return to defend yourself. Do it. That's that. But be sure to do proper protection, of course. But it's useful in certain cases. My preference, however, is because I believe that if I personally cast hexes or baneful magic, the way I go about it, just because I know myself, my personality, and I know when I get fired up, when I get angry, there is no self-control. I grew up with a dad with anger issues, and I'm working on deconstructing and addressing those and reconditioning myself, rewiring my brain to like not be so fired up, not get so like hot-headed. But it is taking a long time. I've been working on it since I turned 20, and it's been 3 years, and I'm still not perfect at it. Especially because I still live with my parents. That doesn't make it easier when you live with the person with anger issues. But the point is, because of my anger problems, and I know when I get angry, and I will do things irrationally and impulsively. The way I will go about my hexes and baneful magic is that I will be releasing negative and pessimistic energy into the universe. And I will be creating more dukkha, suffering and pain for myself and the universe. So I don't do hexes or baneful magic. What I do is justice magic. So I ask that the situation be brought to God's hands, or sometimes with justice magic, Lucifer is really good too. Lucifer is really great with protection and justice magic. So, but most of the time I'll turn to God. And so I bring it to God and I say, may he cast his unbiased and impartial judgment on it and bring justice however he sees fit. But sometimes, I don't do justice magic. Sometimes I just believe that justice or karma will return to the person who hurt me on its own without the use of magic. I've seen it done tons of times. I don't know if it's because another person did justice magic and it came to them, or if it was just natural. But the point is, I didn't do any magic and I've seen justice come on its own so many times. So that is my personal beliefs and practices. But yeah. So that is the end of this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sticking around for the entire hour. If you like the video, give it a like, a comment, and a subscribe to my channel. Commenting will help a lot, kind of like boost algorithm kind of thing. So if you could comment too, maybe like comment your favorite thing or comment something you learned from this video that you will keep in mind for your own practice, that'll be great. You can also follow me on TikTok at Tarot by Andy and Instagram. It's also, Instagram, it's Andy's Witchcraft. So follow me on both those social media accounts. And I will see you guys or stick around with you guys next week for next week's video. Blessed be. Have a wonderful day, week, month, and year.